Greetings, my excellent friend.
Welcome to Most Excellent Adventure to
Heavy Metal
History.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Heavy Metal History Podcast, my guest for this episode is David Isen, guitarist for the band Horse the Band. David, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's crazy. After the hiatus, I never thought I'd be talking to you guys, so it's cool. It's cool to get to talk to you about the things that we're going to talk about today, which I brought you on to talk about the 15-year anniversary of the Mechanical Hands and the new EP that comes out in a couple days, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds great.
So I guess the way that I'll start this out in a different way than I had asked Nathan, or I guess technically I could start it the same way since that 10 minutes got lost. So between 2004 and, 2000, man, this is hard for me to remember shit too. It was 2003 when Arborlax came out, right?
Sounds about right to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so between there and 5, when the Mechanical Hand comes out, you guys have about a 1.5 to 2 year period of making music. So kind of being, I guess, a newer band, for lack of a better term, where were you guys at creatively with trying to get this next album, which would technically, from what Nathan told me, would be your first real album, kind of getting that out there and working on it?
Yeah, you give me a moment to take my mind back into where it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Bring back some of those emotions, strip away the years of hardening that have happened since then. So I am okay. I'm there. I'm back in the headspace of 2000.
You've regressed.
So, Arborlax was like. Those songs were sort of written over the course of several years while we were like in college, mm-hmm. during like our winter breaks and spring breaks.
Damn.
And it's sort of like we'll get together to the jam and like write a song. We'll email some shit back and forth and then try to write the song real fast. And then we have like 2 days when we're all back on summer vacation, and we'll go like record the whole album in 2 days. So it was like, it was kind of a weird way to write an album, yeah. I think. And that's how our Borlax came to be. Also, it's like some of the songs were written and recorded before we, even really knew how to properly play instruments, I think.
I mean, what was your guys' age around that time, if you don't mind me asking?
We were
it's at college, so 20, 21?
Yeah, that's 2021.
Okay. I mean, it's a weird thing, like, if you look back at it from, like, let's just say my own personal perspective here, not necessarily the musician perspective of it, you say, like, learning how to play instruments, and yet it's still, I guess in my opinion, it's still a cohesive piece of work. You can tell that you guys worked on it enough, even though it was like a fast process. You had that kind of like youthful creative energy go into it, to kind of make this record. And, while it may not be super polished and super quote unquote professional, I think that's part of its charm.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like, it's amazing that it still has a charm. Even looking back with our mature ears, we're like, yeah, that was pretty creative and that was cool. And like, it's hard to, like, that sort of youthful energy, it's hard to fake it once you lose it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of it was like when I say learning, maybe not literally learning to play the instruments, but it's sort of like we had like maybe just like discovered the genre of hardcore the month before, and like we heard our first breakdown at a live concert with like fucking 18 Visions opening for Throwdown at Chain Reaction or something. And we're like, oh yeah, we should like write a riff like this. So that album was sort of just like being young and excited to hear and learn new things, and then try to just like put our own spin on it in the next song that we wrote. And that's sort of maybe how I would describe our Borlax.
So from the time that album kind of came out and went, how soon did you guys kind of start going on to the next thing, or was it already a case that like even during that time you were already like ready to work on the next thing going into the Mechanical Hand?
Yeah, I think we. So yeah, like up through our Borlax, we never sat down to write an album. Mm-hmm. We were like writing songs one at a time, and then when there were 12 of them, we decided it was time to record them. And then we sort of like continued on that path, and like I think the first song was Octopus on Fire, was the first of the new songs, and we actually played that song in our FN 69 tour, mm-hmm. which maybe some of you have seen the legendary DVD. But in that tour, in all of the live concerts, you'll hear us say, "And here's the new song," and then Eric will be like, "No, not the new song." But then we'd play, that would be Octopus on Fire, and so I think we went into the Mechanical Hand like writing sessions with that song written. Mm-hmm. But I think that's it. Everything else was like, we're now gonna sit down, and we got our like lockout rehearsal space for the first time. We cleared our schedules. We had like a record deal and like a little bit of money from the label to like buy, a drum set, some cymbals, upgrade our equipment a little bit. So that was like, we sat down and like played, every day, I don't know, 4 days a week, whatever it was, mm-hmm. and wrote a bunch of songs in a short period of time.
So this was a case like where you guys actually all got to sit down in the same room and hash everything out one by one instead of like sending files back and forth and stuff like that, like it is now?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn.
Yeah. It was, it was still me and Eric writing all the music, Nathan writing all the lyrics. Dash kind of like joined the band in the middle of the writing sessions. Mm-hmm. So he kind of ramping up. Eli had just recently joined the band and done a tour, so he was like learning the drum parts that we wrote for him. Pretty much.
Man. Yeah, you guys have you've had quite a few member changes over the years, but it seems like the core group has always been you, Nathan, and Eric, and Dash, as far as like besides our Borlax and Dash not being there, but still like you guys have been like the main dudes throughout the years.
Yeah, well, Dash, I guess you could say like Dash is the classic in the classic lineup of the band.
Yeah.
Which goes, say, through Earth Tour.
Yeah, I was going to say Earth Tour is, man, that's something I want to talk to you about during this too eventually.
Yeah, but then also like for the last 10 years or 11 years, we've had the same lineup, which is, Jeremiah and Daniel playing drums, Jeremiah playing bass, and that's been like the longest period of stability in the band's history by a large margin. And even though we haven't released a lot of music during that time, like we've played a lot in the earlier years of that decade.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I definitely want to touch on a little bit later with that. But as far as Nathan didn't go super in depth with this, but like he kind of mentioned the way that you guys would write songs is you like you kind of said you and Eric kind of got together, but like he mentioned having like MIDI tracks and that's how like he went off stuff. Is that how like you guys kind of shaped the songs and wrote everything on MIDI and then went from there?
The MIDI thing. So that's actually
that's how he explained it anyways.
I would say like the MIDI phase of songwriting was the very end of the very end of the mechanical hand stuff and up to like the beginning of the a natural death stuff. So like if I'm remembering correctly, this song we did write a Rusty Glove on MIDI.
Okay.
Just like fully composed using this silly little like MIDI composer app. Because this is before like any of us even had like fucking Ableton or Pro Tools or any of that shit. So
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of software tools to put music together quickly. So yeah, I think that like for Mechanical Hand, I did write the Rusty Glove on MIDI, at least part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of the songs at the like we went into a natural death with like this backlog of like 10 MIDI things that I'd made to sort of like kickstart the process. But I think that was sort of like it was a phase.
Okay. I mean, it's still cool kind of hearing like how that, interwoven itself into like the writing process a little bit as far as like getting something out there, whether it was on this record or Natural Death,
Yeah, it was all. Yeah, it was sort of like we like while we're like sitting in the van on tour, we would just like I would just like put my ideas down on MIDI.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's easy to communicate like weird drum patterns, like so I didn't have to just like yell at Eli like no, it's like bump 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 bump, and then there's like do that over and over again, and then we're just like yelling at each other.
Yeah.
I would just like put it in MIDI and then send it to him and be like, figure out how to play that.
Yeah, because I mean, like you just said, like the technology back then. I mean, I can't imagine like the hurdles that you guys had to go through to record and demo stuff out compared to today, where like you can literally just do it on your computer on your own and send it across the internet to somebody else, or even like fucking streaming it. Like it's so much more convenient nowadays compared to like 15 years ago, and I think it's incredible, not even just 15 years ago, but even 20, 30 years ago, what bands were able to pull off as far as like writing and recording music compared to nowadays.
Yeah, but also it's like we like burnt ourselves out on that style of writing, and it was like you don't know if the thing's good until you like play it with real people. It's like this sounds heavy as a MIDI, but what about in real life? And it's not always true in real life. So I've been trying to actually restrain myself from doing that sort of like full composition e-sharing model. Just like we have this like bank of small ideas, and then like when we do get together, we'll share them and then see how they really sound.
So was there a case during writing the Mechanical Hand where like you guys had written something out of MIDI and maybe like it just wasn't working, and then you played it and it worked different when you played it?
Probably a Rusty Glove.
Oh, okay.
Better on MIDI than in real life. I mean, I guess it sounds fine. I guess a Rusty Glove is a song that like sounded really amazing on MIDI. It actually, I think it comes across really good as an album song still. Like it's a good one to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a live song. It just like sucks to play live, and we played it like once live, and we were like, that sucked. We're not doing that again.
Interesting. Was it?
So I feel like now it's like because we realize that we tend to like not want to write songs that we're not gonna enjoy playing live.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah,
I definitely.
But then also,
sorry, go ahead.
It's limited us from like writing certain types of songs, because like even if something is gonna sound really cool, we're always like, oh, but that's gonna be like really boring to like play. So we don't finish writing that song.
Yeah, I've asked a few bands that, where when it comes to songwriting, where's the line of writing something that you guys enjoy versus like what's fun to play live, because you have to kind of balance that. And, I'm assuming 15 years ago, where was your guys' mindset on something like that of like playing it live versus like having it on this recording? Because, people are going to listen to it two different ways, as far as like live and recording goes. And you can't really control the live aspect all the time, because of technical issues, whereas you can kind of control the recording a little bit more, I feel like.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I feel like because we had like so few songs, we sort of assumed that we were going to play everything we wrote live all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very concerned about that as we were writing. Like we weren't like, oh, this is going to sound great on the album. We were like, oh, this is going to like, the crowd's going to lose their shit when we like play this note. That was our first consideration.
So by the time that you guys have, how long did you say, and maybe I missed it, I'm sorry. How long did you say it took to kind of write everything and have it all ready to go to record? I think you said like a couple weeks, but I could have misheard you.
We're talking about Mechanical Hand.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, that was not. The writing was like months.
Months. Okay, sorry.
It was something like maybe we had 3 months of like not touring to just write,
mm-hmm.
and then we went on this tour called the something about Texas and a tornado. I forget. It was very clever at the time. We went on like it was just to Texas, a tour. It was like 6 shows or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And during that tour, we played the songs that we'd just written, and they sort of like matured a little bit. That's when we realized which ones were not fun to play live.
Oh, interesting.
Then we got back from that tour, had like one more week of just like touching up the songs, and then we went to record it in Seattle. And we were in Seattle for 3 weeks recording.
Okay. Yeah, man, I used to live in the Northwest area in Olympia, so, and then like, I have friends up in Seattle, so I'd imagine, was it like, what time of year were you there? Was it like summer, winter, spring?
It was May.
May, okay. Yeah, man, because as nice as that place is, like, the weather up there is fucking brutal sometimes, and I can't imagine like wanting to live there forever.
Well, 3 weeks wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, 3 weeks is great. I mean, so what do you remember, like what studio you went to and like who you recorded with and everything like that?
Yeah, I do remember. It was Matt Bayless, the famous Matt Bayless, who he is the how do I describe him? He was in Minus the Bear.
Oh.
And then he recorded Minus the Bear and a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
From that circle. Recorded a bunch of heavy bands too.
Yeah, because isn't one of the guys in Minus the Bear used to be in like fucking Coalesce or Botch or one of those bands?
Botch.
Yeah, Botch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, because like that was always the weirdest juxtaposition to me when I like heard that he was in that band and I listened to them and I was like, huh. Yeah, I guess it shows that metal guys have a lot more range than like we really get credit for a lot of times. And I think that's one of the things about your guys' band too. Like as much as you have like metal and hardcore kind of roots in there, there's a ton of melody, whether it comes from the keyboards or the guitars, like, and I think that that's an added like little nuance that kind of gets overlooked or gets an unfortunate, I guess, label like nintendocore put onto it. But I think it's a good thing to have in your music.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just, instead of making 2 bands, we just made 1 band that did everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, there's never been another band that's, at least to my knowledge, sounded anything close to you guys. Like, you've never been imitated. When I feel like a lot of metal sometimes is, hey, we want to sound like that band, so let's do that. Yeah. And I've never heard anybody want or have sounded like Horse the Band. So I think that, I don't know, maybe it's just too hard to pull off for some people or just nobody, I don't know. It's always kind of perplexed me as to why nobody really jumped on that fad, so to speak.
Well, it's not a very lucrative path So I can, I can
Hey,
a lot of reasons why people wouldn't want to follow that path.
none of heavy metal is lucrative.
That's, but yeah, I mean, it's like we've sort of tried to like not be metal for our whole careers, you know?
Yeah.
So, so like we're it's all of our different instincts fighting against each other to like be heavy but not be metal and be like, you know, be punk but not be like super angry.
Yeah, I think you guys always had this really good tone about being seriously not serious, is how I used to explain it to people. It's like, they definitely are very, it seems like you guys are very calculated in what you were doing and having a good time about it, but you were very serious about it. I mean, the cover for Desperate Living, I'm pretty sure, the one where you guys are like in the group photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that I feel like that is such a perfect encapsulation of like the energy
Yeah.
you guys give off, and it's like, man, nail on the head right there.
No, that's a good point. It's like that album cover, it is both serious and like it's very funny, but it's also, you know, it's serious. We took it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Every element of that whole thing was very deliberate.
Yep.
And it is meant to make you laugh to some degree, but also it's on theme with the whole album, which has pretty serious notes to it.
Yeah, that's I can appreciate a band that like takes time to kind of like think those things out instead of like, making it a joke or being too serious or too funny. Like you guys are kind of like right in the middle there, and I've always appreciated that about the band.
Yeah.
So I guess as far as the mechanical hand goes, this will kind of tie into the next thing I kind of want to talk to you about here with Earth Tour. Having something celebrate a 15-year anniversary and being 15 years removed from this piece of art, I mean, how does it still kind of cross your mind, when you look back at it? Like, is it still something that you're like, man, I did that thing, I'm proud of it? Or is it just like every now and then it comes to your head and you're like, oh yeah, I did that record. It's been 15 years, like, yeah, how do you look back on it?
Yeah. I mean, I look back at that one as like, that is, I mean, in some sense, it was our peak. Well, like, it only in some dimension though. Like other things may have been our peak in other ways. Like it was not, like maybe it wasn't our peak of popularity, or it wasn't our peak of skill.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't our peak in the best songs, but it was like that was when somehow what we were doing like resonated in a timeless way with the fans.
Yeah.
And it's still like to this day, it's like that's clearly like the heart of our live show is like the mechanical hand section.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like that was kind of like the magical moment in our history, I think, in my mind, was like that era. But then like I don't know, like when I look back at say like A Natural Death, that's when I'm like, oh, like how the fuck did we like write and record this music? It's like fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's like so fast and multi-layered and like crazy. And that's the one where I'm like, holy shit, like how was I capable of that? But then it's also like that album is not our most popular and is like not the most fun to play live.
Huh.
I don't know. We sort of like peaked in different ways and at different times.
Yeah, because Natural Death has always been my favorite record. Man, that's really interesting the way that you explain that. Because like, I guess everybody kind of has a different look, whether being a musician or somebody who listens to the music, where it's like, well, yeah, that record, probably sold well, but this record is much more like composed and fuck. What's the word when you record it? Like, fucking blanking here. That's what editing's for. It's the best part. God damn it. Engineered, I think is the word. When it's engineered well, when you go and you're in the studio. Yeah. Anyways, Yeah, when it sounds better. It sounds better than the previous record. I think that is the best. That and Desperate Living, like those two records sound incredible to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That like, I mean, our playing on them was better, and like just the end result of the production and engineering process was better.
Production. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think that actually this. Well, I guess we'll get to the new EP later.
I mean, hey, we can bounce around. Like it's okay with me because I definitely want to get into that because like okay, so it's been 10 years, 11 years, somewhere around there since the last record. I mean, you guys are still kind of playing shows after that, and last year you guys were still doing some shows, correct? And that's where one of the new songs kind of started to pop up.
Yeah. So yeah, like over the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
I maybe like the first couple years we were touring still fairly regularly, and then we kind of fell into a one tour a year pattern.
Yep.
one short tour a year pattern, and then we skipped a year, and then last year our tour was only 3 shows long, I don't know, but it was a really fun tour. Those 3 shows were great. But as it relates to the new song, like we started writing these new songs on one of these tours like 5 years ago.
Oh wow.
We just like carved out some time during the tour to like go into this basement in Germany and like write some songs. And that's like, we basically like wrote most of the songs at that time 5 years ago. And then it just took us, 5 years to finish. But yeah, one of the songs from the EP we played on a previous tour as well every night. And then on this last tour, we actually played two of the songs every night. So yeah, some people have heard them. They're probably on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen a couple floating around, but I've been waiting to kind of wait till the actual product drops. Because YouTube audio, it's it's fine, but it's not the greatest all the time.
But sometimes you can like fill in the blanks. Like it's just like white noise and people moving around, but then like you imagine that the song is really amazing, and it's actually like your imagination is better than what actually comes. That's definitely happened to me before when I'm like watching live clips of like a band I like.
Yeah, that's you can kind of ascribe that same thing to people who don't like spoilers, like movies and TV shows and stuff, because I think that their imaginations just take it to another place, and they're either let down or like surprised depending on how it go, where their imagination took them with it. So I guess the big thing, as far as like writing these songs and putting them out there, was it a case of having free time? I know you said you were working on some of them years ago, but as far as like finally getting to get them out there, was it just because of the pandemic, like you had a bunch more time, or has it been, you guys miss writing music and playing music? Like where's the mindset been as far as like creating new stuff?
Well, the biggest hurdle is our geographic location.
Yeah.
We've got one guy who lives in Berlin for the last many years, Eric. Mm-hmm. And, I'm in LA, Nathan's in Orange County, whatever. But there's sort of like that limitation of like actually getting together to do stuff.
Yeah.
But then once we wrote the songs, it just took forever to finish because like different people were like super motivated at different times that didn't overlap. So that would be like for 1 year, I'm just like bugging like Nathan to like do something to like finish writing the lyrics, and he's just like ignoring me. And then it's like, and then I'm sort of like over it, and then like 2 months later, like Nathan suddenly gets excited, and I'm just like, I'm too busy to deal with this shit right now. And then I just like ignore him. So it's like just like getting all 5 of us to like overlap in our motivation and availability has been like really hard.
Yeah, I mean it's still amazing though that like at least you guys have the convenience of technology. That's like the big plus, I would assume. But yeah, motivation is a motherfucker, especially right now. It's hard to want to get motivated to do anything with like the state of the world. It's just so crushing at some points. But I mean, the fact that you guys were still able to pull it off is incredible. You know, I mean, having like all that distance between you and still wanting to do this stuff, despite those odds, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like we got actually super lucky on the timing in a sense because like we recorded the drums, bass, and guitar like literally like the day before Daniel moved to Portland.
Mhm.
So like if we hadn't gotten that in, it would have probably delayed us another year while we like wait to like fly him somewhere.
Damn.
And then we recorded Nathan's vocals like a month before the lockdown, and like we'd probably still be waiting to record the vocals if we hadn't managed to squeeze that in.
So what's been the biggest thing as far as your personal songwriting and I guess, for lack of a better word, motivation that, you know, has like really made you want to start doing this again for Horse the Band, maybe not necessarily other projects?
Well, it's hard to say because this motivation actually for me happened, let's say, at various points over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just felt it one day, and I was like, this riff in my head, it's worth like, you know, trying to share it with people.
So there was no question in your mind about like just starting like a new project. It was like, nah, this is definitely like a Horse the Band thing. Like this is what it has to be.
It's like it's really hard. Like I've toyed with that idea before, but it's starting from scratch and beginning the hustle over from zero is just like feels so daunting and pointless. It would be like, I mean, I would, you know, maybe I would want to like jam with some friends and fuck around,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like trying to like start a band and promote ourselves and make a website and all that is just like not gonna happen, you know. We've got our audience. It's amazing. We'll any creative idea I have, I'll manage to squeeze it into Horse the Band somehow.
Hey, that's good though. I mean, it also kind of, you know, it lets you kind of see how much you guys have grown, you know, over the 10 years too, and like what new surprises that like you can bring to the band.
Yeah, it's true.
Plus, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't even know what I was gonna say. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off. There's like a weird delay, and like sometimes I don't hear you talk, so it's like I'm not doing it on purpose. I swear.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I guess I was just gonna say like even now, like especially with everything going on in the world, like trying to start a band now, I could not even imagine. Like it's got to be impossible. Like nobody's gonna be able to play shows for who knows how long, you know. I mean, it's a nightmare right now. So I totally understand your hesitancy and like not wanting to like climb up that ladder because of that added headache as well.
That's also true. It's also like, why start a band if you can't actually play for anyone?
Yeah.
Although it kind of reminds me of like back in 2008, there was not a pandemic, but there was like a economic meltdown.
Yes.
A sort of like a mini gas crisis where gas prices went way up, and it was like the increase in gas prices put a lot of like low level bands like out of commission in terms of the feasibility of touring.
Yep.
And at the time we were sort of like at our most spiteful and vindictive peak. So we were like, yeah, like fuck all those stupid bands. Like they shouldn't be touring anyway. But then, you know, it ended up hurting us too. Cause like when the economic crisis happened, like, you know, you could see like people just stopped going to shows and spending money because they didn't have any money.
Yep.
It sucked. So even though we could tour, we couldn't like make any money on tour because no one had any money.
Yeah, that was the year that I started touring. I was working for a band, and It was summer of 2008, and man, you're not wrong about those gas prices. Everywhere you went, it was $5, if not more, for a gallon of gas. So, you know, you're getting a $200 guarantee, and then it all just goes to your fucking gas tank. And it's like, so how are we supposed to survive doing this? It was, I mean, yeah, it was like you saw a lot of bands just kind of go the wayside because it wasn't affordable to tour. It's still not, but you know, it's different beast now.
Yeah, I mean, we in our first tours, even before our Borlax, we sort of like budgeted it out so we were gonna like make it work with like a $50 guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
Just get across the country and back, sleep on floors, and you know pay for gas with $50 a day or whatever, which is just you know completely not possible when you triple the price of gas.
So I guess that's a good segue because I do want to talk to you a little bit about that Earth Tour DVD, or magnum opus as I like to call it. I mean, man, I don't even know what to say. Like, the fact that it's nearly over 10 hours long is incredible to me. And how did you guys decide to just film everything that you were doing and want to do this tour? Because, I mean, it's such... And that was in 2008 as well, right?
Yeah, that was 2008.
So, I mean, amidst everything else going on, you guys decided to do this massive world tour, film it. I mean, was it just like a fuck it, let's see what happens kind of deal? Like, where were you guys at with trying to pull that off?
Yeah, pretty much. When did the economy blow up? I feel like it was actually like while we were in the middle of this tour or something, or like right at the end of it.
Yeah, it was 08, 09.
Yeah, like when we started planning the tour, the economy was just fine. Well, it wasn't fine, but for all outward appearances, the economy seemed fine. But underneath, it was rotten, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we I think we kind of just like got rejected from the tours we wanted to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, the ideas coming to us from our record label and booking agent were like really, really unappealing to us. And we were like, we knew that we had an audience in these countries. Like we had toured internationally before on our like self-booked as well.
Oh, okay.
And we were like, everyone is so stupid for not wanting to send us to Europe because like there's a shitload of people that want to see us there. We don't want to play. We don't want to do the same U.S. tour route for the 8th time this year. We want to go somewhere else. And no one was like interested in helping us with this. So we were just like, let's do it ourselves. And like we wrote all the places we wanted to go down on like a napkin in the van while we were like driving through Canada on the Guar tour or something. If I remember correctly.
Damn.
We were just having a brainstorm session of countries we wanted to go to. And we made this huge ass list, and then we were like, "All right, let's see if we can do this." And then we did it.
I think it's honestly one of the most underrated documentaries of our time, as far as like the realness of it and everything that was captured on that. I mean, it's fucking insane to me. Like, I only toured for like 5 years, but I mean, the shit that you guys had to deal with on that fucking tour is just like insane to me. Like, I'm surprised you guys just didn't like fucking quit then, you know, like even though it was like close to where like, you know, you guys kind of went on hiatus. But I mean, my God, man, it's incredible. Like, as many people as I ever get the chance to tell about it, I'm like, no, you want to see a good band documentary? Like, check this one out. And it's, I just can't imagine like dealing with the shit that you guys dealt with.
Yeah, although I mean, but it's like we only have ourselves to blame for the shit, you know.
I mean,
this is maybe a segue into the new EP.
Yeah.
Like, whose fault was it? Well, it was our fault. But it's like, I mean, like we created the situation for ourselves, and then went crazy trying to deal with the situation we created for ourselves. But it was all for a higher purpose. So
yeah, I mean, Man, just documenting everything the way you did. What's his name? Gary?
Gary, yeah.
Yeah, Gary, man, he filmed, it seemed like he filmed fucking everything. And I mean, I watched it fairly recently, you know, cause I was getting ready to, you know, to do this. And I was like, well, I want to revisit this cause it had been years since I had watched it. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me in a weird, ironic twist is that you guys were in Wuhan for a little segment there.
Yeah.
And like talking about him getting rabies from that woman. And I was like, oh man, how in the world are we sitting here 10 years later and they're in Wuhan? And like one of the, you know, I think Gary was wearing the mask too. I was like, man, that's a weird fucking twist.
Yeah, that's true. Man, it's funny. I mean, it's weird because it's like, I'm like, oh my God, Wuhan. Like, I actually know what that place is and I've been there.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. But also it's like, is that really that interesting? It's a city of fucking millions of people. Like it's not actually an obscure place. It's like the size of Chicago or something. But to the Western audience at the time, no one had ever heard of Wuhan other than the shitty like China cymbals you get at Guitar Center are from the Wuhan brand of cymbals.
Yeah.
Drummers know what I'm talking about. I don't know if anyone else will. But it's yeah, I mean, like we saw someone take a dump in the river and then go swimming in it, like in Wuhan. A lot of amazing things in that city.
Yeah, man.
It was also a fun show. We had a nice meal. We ate the fish from the river that we saw the guy take a dump in. You know? But it's a different way of life over there.
Yeah. I mean, that was the coolest thing about it too, is like you guys kind of like, as much as you could, you know, on a tour, like embedded yourselves in wherever you were at, even if it was like for a couple hours and you guys were all fucking super tired and drunk and whatever. It was like, you know, you had to make the most of it. Even like going to see Tiananmen Square in the middle of the pouring fucking rain, like, or I think that was Nathan and
yeah, I slept through. I went to sleep.
Yeah, that's right.
I skipped that excursion.
Damn, I forgot. Yeah, that was just Nathan and Eric. Or I don't know. It's been a minute since I watched it. But yeah, still, I mean, it was cool seeing all those different perspectives and the people that you kind of like had around you in those places, like on the tour.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like, I mean, everyone who was involved in that tour in any capacity sort of has an eternal special bond.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Obviously, there's like the main characters who are no longer a part of the band, like Gary, Plop, and John Carroll. Like, we'll always have like that. We bonded in a special way for those 3 months. But then also like the side characters who just popped in for a little bit, like. That's sort of like a long-lasting connection too. That's like pretty cool.
Yeah, it's man. I feel like I'm just waxing your car here, but it's something so real about it. I think is what I really appreciate it, you know, about the whole thing. And I don't think you get that a lot with band documentaries. You kind of get like the facade of like, oh yeah, man, like we pull into this town, we're in the green room, we play our show, it's fucking amazing, and then on to the next. Like that's not how all touring is, man. It's fucking shitty ass drives and sleeping in vans and Walmart bathrooms.
We want to. It's sort of like our instinct was to present everything as its worst rather than its best, and that's like ourselves at our worst, like our audience at its worst, the experience at its worst, the world at its worst, everything just at its worst. But then the beauty shines through through the shit.
I agree.
And then it's real, I think.
Yeah, it kind of sucks I can't talk to Eric because like he seems like such a fascinating dude. Like when I was watching that, he always seems so like, I won't say nihilistic, but like maybe a realist. You know, he kind of sees things at face value, but he has a fucking huge smile on his face the whole time, and it's just like the most dismal, stuff he's talking about. I'm like, man, what a crazy outlook this guy has on life, and it's with a smile at the same time, and I often wonder like what goes through his head.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think yeah.
So getting back to the EP, man, you said okay, so it's called Your Fault.
Yes.
Where why is it? If you don't want to go too in depth, like what's the meaning behind Your Fault?
Well, so the have you seen the artwork?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I've seen like what you guys have been posting. I didn't know if it was the official artwork or not because it's been like a bunch of weird stuff on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, where's the official artwork?
Okay.
Well, the official artwork will come. You'll see it, like, say, on all the digital places when it comes out on Friday.
Okay.
And also, yeah, I don't know. One of the things that one of the random things I've been posting is official, but basically, there is a humanoid figure, a face, who is looking very disturbed, anguished, pointing, saying "your fault." But the finger point sort of like wraps around the back of the cover and ends up pointing back at himself. So it's sort of like his own fault.
Okay.
But it's sort of like you could interpret it in different ways.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. I got it pulled up.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, this is one of the ones I saw. I was like, all right. I didn't know if it was real or if it was like some like fan drawing thing. Because you guys post, or at least in the past, you guys have posted like crazy ass shit all the time.
It's hard to know which one is like real.
Yeah.
Posted so much stuff. But yeah, so it's like, I mean, at its face, like you could interpret as like we're yelling at the fans for some reason, as we like to do. We're yelling at you as the listener that it's your fault, or we're like, you'll hear on the record like Nathan. It's actually a lyric to one of the songs. It's your fault. It's in there. He yells it. It's a very powerful moment at the end of the first song. And in that one, it's almost like he's yelling at himself, you know? And that's sort of what touched me is like hearing his like self-loathing in the way he screamed your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of his own suffering is his own fault. That really moved me, and we kind of decided that's what we had to call the record. And it's like there's this idea that of like the level of suffering is increased by the knowledge that it is your own fault. That's sort of like a theme.
Damn. Yeah. I can relate to that actually. I feel that way a lot of times when I fuck something up. I'm just like, well, that was my fault, and I hate myself even more for it.
Yeah.
Yep. I love the niacin Easter egg, so to speak, on one of the posts. That's good. That was a recurring theme in the Earth documentary.
Yeah, it's like he started niacin in Earth Tour?
Maybe. I just know it was popping up a lot in that, like constantly, the niacin thing.
I know. I mean, I didn't even remember. Like he said that in the Earth Tour.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess like that was like a 10-year chapter of our lives. This started on Earth Tour and ended on the niacin tour, where we sold Horse the Band branded niacin.
Wow.
And then I think after that we can't take this niacin thing any farther. So
I mean, that is peak fucking comedy right there, man. To like actually start selling niacin. Holy shit. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's niacintology.
Niacintology. Damn, dude. So I guess I don't want to take up too more of your time. I like to keep it around an hour for these things. So obviously it comes out in 2 days, but you know, I assume this is all funded through you guys. So where can people go get it to support the band in whatever capacity, as far as like buying it digitally or merch, whatever you guys have for sale for the record or EP, I guess, coming out?
Well, I would have said you can go buy the vinyl. However, it is sold out.
Oh, hell yeah, that's good at least.
We sold that shit out in like one day. It was incredible.
Yeah, vinyl is huge, man. I mean, I rarely see when something lasts for more than 24 hours, 48 hours for a vinyl drop. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then we're gonna release it on another limited pressing on cassette tape via Rat Girl Records.
Nice.
Confirmed that this afternoon over Facebook Messenger conversation. So, no, I don't have any details about that yet, but that we'll announce that when it finally happens. But the what was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, as for otherwise, I mean, I would say add it to your lists on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
creating some momentum around popularity and interest would be super amazing. But I mean, it will be available on iTunes Music and like all the different other digital things.
So I guess one final thing, since you kind of brought this up, what is, this is a very divisive subject. What's kind of your stance on the streaming platform model as far as like your guys' music and dividends and all that stuff?
Well, I can only speak for myself, which might not be the same opinion as the rest of the band.
Sure.
But it's like, for us, we've never made any money through record sales anyway. Or the only money we've ever made through record sales is by selling CDs and vinyl on tour.
Yep.
Ourselves. So it's like, no matter what, like the way we make money is by touring and selling merch. So if we're never gonna recoup any of our record deals and see royalties on that shit anyway. So it's like,
it's whatever.
I would personally prefer to just spread the music as widely as possible to help have more people at the shows. But I mean, the whole vinyl thing really helps a lot, because it's like, even if you give the music away for free, you can still, sell vinyl to people, happily.
So actually, sorry, one last thing, because I don't know why I didn't ask this earlier. How did Mechanical Hand sell when it came out, as far as like compared to everything else?
It actually, so now to this day, Mechanical Hand is by a large margin our best-selling record.
Wow.
I forget the numbers, but
that's fine.
And I think a lot of that but a lot of that is because, like, we released it before the record industry really fucking died.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like a slow death from then onward. So like, for everyone, like, the album they released in 2009 didn't sell as well as the one they released in 2005. That's just like how the whole industry went.
Yep.
So it sold the most, and it sold way more than our Borlaug, so we were happy. Obviously, we had delusions of grandeur when it came out that we were gonna like top the charts, which obviously didn't happen. So it's a mixed bag. But looking back, it's a lot of people bought it and a lot of people know it, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. I think that's a good note to go out on then. David, man, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time and revisiting this record and talking about the new stuff. It was awesome to get to talk to you guys about it. I seriously appreciate it a whole lot. Yeah,
it was fun. I'm looking forward to hearing what Nathan had to say about the same subjects.
Yeah, it took a little bit to get some stuff out of him, but he was a very enigmatic guy, to say the least. But once we had a conversation going, he definitely started talking a little bit more. But yeah, it was some good stuff, I think.
Cool. Maybe we'll do it again in 2 years for I know, maybe we can do it next year for the pizza reunion.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I guess to go off on a last little tangent, I was actually going to reach out to you guys last year to talk about the 10th anniversary of Desperate Living.
All right.
But I had so much shit on my plate last year doing this podcast, I just never got around to it. And I was like, well, I'll wait, until next year, and we'll talk about a 15-year anniversary of something, and see if they're interested in that. So it worked out either way. So yeah, man, I would definitely love to stay in touch, and whenever another anniversary comes out, we can delve into that too.
Sounds great.
Be excellent to each other And party on, dudes!